Procurement Act 2023 Knowledge Drop Series for Suppliers Part 2 of 3. In Part 2 of this Knowledge Drop series, we will cover new requirements for contracting authorities to complete conflicts of interest assessments, how the Act makes it easier for suppliers to participate in procurements through the introduction of a new central digital platform and early market engagement, understanding the full range of value for money considerations that contracting authorities may consider in their procurements, changes to procurement procedures, including the new competitive flexible procedure and grounds for direct award, the introduction of new open frameworks and dynamic markets. Strengthened approach to conflicts of interest. Identifying and mitigating conflicts of interest have always been an important part of the procurement process. The Procurement Act has strengthened the requirement to help contracting authorities to better protect the integrity of their procurements by clearly setting out the need to identify and mitigate actual and potential conflicts of interest throughout the process. Where a conflict of interest puts any particular supplier at an advantage, and if steps to mitigate cannot avoid that advantage, for example, by providing certain additional information or the supplier putting in place ethical walls, then the supplier must be excluded from that particular procurement. Contracting authorities will need to carry out a conflicts of interest assessment, and these requirements should give suppliers extra confidence that the procurement process is being managed fairly. Easier for suppliers to participate. To make the process of participating in procurements easier, quicker, and less administratively burdensome, the Procurement Act introduces a new central digital platform built on the existing Find a Tender system that contracting authorities are required to use to publish details of new procurement opportunities. This will make it easier for suppliers to identify and access these opportunities. Suppliers have been asking for many years for a single procurement system where you can provide your business credentials all in one place. The central digital platform will provide a single place for you to register and upload your key business information, data that is typically asked for by contracting authorities at the initial stage of a new procurement. You will be able to participate in tendering opportunities more easily without having to provide the same reusable information each time, reducing duplication and the resources it takes you to tender for new opportunities. Once signed up, you will be able to set up custom searches and receive alerts about new opportunities that match your interests. The central digital platform is free to access. The expectation is that contracting authorities will continue to use their existing e-procurement systems providers to publish procurement notices and to manage tender submissions. It is your responsibility to keep your information on the central digital platform up to date, such as when there are any changes to your organization, so that the correct information is available to contracting authorities. Better value for money. Under the Procurement Act, contracts are awarded on the basis of the most advantageous tender, MAT, instead of the most economically advantageous tender, MEAT, encouraging contracting authorities to design their procurements to take full advantage of the broad range of award criteria that may be used. This change is there to send a strong signal to the market that procurement in the public defence and utilities sectors is interested in more than just the lowest price. It's interested in wider value and impact. Suppliers will also be able to show contracting authorities how they can deliver this value to their local economies, for example, through the creation of social value, including jobs, skills, apprenticeships, and environmental benefits, such as net zero, where this is non-discriminatory and linked to the contract. Emphasis on early supplier engagement. The Procurement Act encourages contracting authorities to engage with suppliers earlier by reviewing their upcoming requirements and publishing pipeline notices. Larger contracting authorities, with a spend of over £100 million per annum, are required to publish pipelines of their future procurements at the start of each financial year, which will cover all opportunities over £2 million that they expect to tender for over the coming 18 months. This will help you to ensure that you have time to prepare to respond to such opportunities and be ready to deliver, either as prime contractors, as members of consortia, or as a subcontractor through early engagement with the supply chain. In addition, the new preliminary market engagement notice may be used to alert you to any early market engagement activities. Contracting authorities can advertise the opportunity for you to participate in research or events designed to help them to understand what the market is capable of offering or where opportunities for innovation exist. This will help you to understand the requirements of the procurement, shape and inform the procedure, and ensure that you can adequately prepare to respond to the tender. The notice may also be used where pre-market engagement has already been undertaken to inform the market of the activity and the outcome. Flexibility in procurement procedures. The procurement procedures under the previous regulations were often seen as being restrictive, which sometimes meant limited opportunity for you to engage with contracting authorities during the process. The several prescriptive procurement procedures available under the previous regulations will be replaced by a simplified and more flexible approach, reducing the number of competitive procedures to just two, the open and the competitive flexible procedure. The open single-stage procedure has been retained and can still be used for procurements that are more straightforward in nature, reducing resources that suppliers have to invest in the process. One of the greatest flexibilities offered by the Procurement Act is that contracting authorities can now design procurement processes to best suit the market and the subject matter of the contract through the new competitive flexible procedure. In its simplest form, the process could be similar to that of the restricted procedure. However, additional stages relevant to the requirement can be added, creating a multi-stage tendering process. This will allow greater opportunity for negotiation and dialogue with suppliers during a procurement and allow contracting authorities to consider supplier innovation more easily as part of a competitive, flexible procedure procurement process, giving you the opportunity to showcase new solutions as part of your tender submissions. In addition, it is possible to build in stages, such as product demonstrations or prototype testing, into the assessment of tenders, and to remove barriers that can stifle innovation by making it quicker and easier to move from the research and development phase to product deployment within a single procurement. However, contracting authorities are required to consider the nature and complexity of the requirement to ensure that the procedure is proportionate. Suppliers can be assured that despite the flexibility in the procedures, the transparency requirements mean that contracting authorities will have to clearly set out their procedures in advance. This information will need to be communicated as a minimum through the tender notice and associated documents, and as best practice through pre-market engagement to help you to understand the process and plan your resources accordingly. Framework and dynamic markets. The new Procurement Act introduces more flexible rules around two types of procurement tools, frameworks and dynamic markets. A framework is a public contract between a contracting authority and one or more suppliers for the future award of contracts. The framework will set out terms and conditions for future requirements and the basis on which awards can be made, which will be quicker via call-off contracts than via a full procurement process. In addition to conventional frameworks, which are closed to new suppliers joining once awarded and are limited to a 4-year maximum term or 8 years for utilities and defence and security frameworks, the Procurement Act introduces an open framework, which means that contracting authorities will have the flexibility to appoint new suppliers through a scheme of frameworks which can run for an 8-year maximum term. With open frameworks, you will have the opportunity to apply to join the framework at different stages throughout the term. As a minimum, contracting authorities are required to reopen the framework at least once within the first 3 years, and it should not remain closed for more than 5 years. Therefore, you will not be locked out of the opportunity, as is the case with conventional frameworks. Dynamic markets have been introduced, which are similar to dynamic purchasing systems, DPS, in that they are a list of qualified suppliers who are eligible to participate in future procurements. You can apply to join at any time, with no limit on the number of suppliers that can join. This will be particularly helpful if you are a new entrant to the market or can offer new and innovative solutions, as dynamic markets can be used for a wider range of goods, services and works, meaning that there are increased opportunities for you through this flexible and more agile route. A register will be made available for you to view on the new central digital platform and will provide a list of all frameworks and dynamic markets that are available for contracting authorities to access. The benefits of this central digital platform for suppliers include greater transparency of the frameworks and dynamic markets available, to understand the existing suppliers that are contracted through such arrangements and where opportunities exist for you to engage with such suppliers to become part of their supply chains. Reduced duplication, as contracting authorities will have better visibility of the frameworks and dynamic markets that already exist, so there is no need for them to recreate their own, meaning that you should see more businesses through arrangements where you have been successfully appointed. Visibility of the framework expiry or reopening dates, enabling you to plan ahead for new procurement opportunities or to join existing ones. Ability to identify and apply to join any dynamic market that is relevant to your business at any time. Direct awards. The Procurement Act retains the provision for contracts to be awarded in the event of extreme and unavoidable urgency, which contracting authorities would award under the previous regulations using the negotiated procedure without prior publication. This procedure is replaced in the Procurement Act by direct award. The Procurement Act also provides clearer arrangements for how procurement may be conducted in a national emergency, such as the COVID-19 pandemic. In addition to extreme urgency grounds for making a direct award, the Procurement Act introduces a new provision for emergency procurement that allows a Minister of the Crown the power to pre-authorise use of direct award where necessary to protect life or health or to protect public order and safety. contracting authorities also now have the ability to direct award where the services, usually social care or health-related services, are to be provided for a specifically identified individual, child, or carer, end user, who has a legal right to determine who should perform the service, meaning that a competitive procurement cannot be undertaken. There are other limited circumstances, similar to those in the previous regulations, where contracting authorities can direct award. The main change is that contracting authorities are required to publish a transparency notice to inform the market of their intention to undertake a direct award. Although contracting authorities can make direct awards if they meet the criteria to do so, they may still take pragmatic steps like price comparisons between suppliers to ensure the best value for money. Recap. You should now understand key changes under the Procurement Act relating to new requirements for contracting authorities to complete conflicts of interest assessments, how the Act makes it easier for suppliers to participate in procurements through the introduction of a new central digital platform and early market engagement, understanding the full range of value for money considerations that contracting authorities may consider in their procurements, changes to procurement procedures, including the new competitive flexible procedure and grounds for direct award, the introduction of new open frameworks and dynamic markets. In Part 3 of this Knowledge Drop series, we will cover changes to the supplier exclusion regime, how the debarment list will work, changes to how contracts are awarded and managed, extended measures for ensuring prompt payment, the Act's transparency ambition and notice publication requirements, the role that the Procurement Review Unit will play in improving compliance with the legal regime, the steps you can take to help prepare your organisation for these changes.
This material has been produced for the purpose of learning and development and does not constitute and should not be relied upon as legal advice. This material is accurate as at October 2023. Fact sheets for the following exemptions can be found on gov.uk. Concessions, light touch, defence and security, Northern Ireland, Wales, schools, utilities. End of animation.